Hello, welcome to Premier Scene. I'm Claire Bueno, where tonight we speak to the lovely Rachel Weisz and Sam Claflin for their new film, the very mysterious My Cousin Rachel. I saw Rachel externally as modest, but her inner life, she's powerful and resourceful. Did you enjoy playing those opposites and finding the nuances in that?
Yeah, I mean, she's in mourning for her dead husband, so she dresses very modestly. She doesn't look extravagant. She has two black dresses, her hair's pulled back, and that could be that she's a very decent, modest woman in mourning, or it could be a fantastic front for a very extravagant woman who's planning to steal this young man's fortune, and she doesn't wear any jewelry, so she doesn't look like she's a money-seeking kind of gal, but maybe she is. Maybe that's a front. Those are all the questions the movie asks, yeah.
In the film, your character's described as generous to the point of rashness. Is that how you would describe him?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe him, really. I think he's got a boyish charm. I'd say he's a childish adult is the best way of describing him. I think for me, one of the highlights and privileges of working with someone like, playing a character like Philip is that surprisingly, I've spent most of my acting career thus far kind of begging to play three-dimensional and complex characters. What was so beautiful about him is that he's so simple and direct and two-dimensional almost. He says what he thinks, and I think there's something quite refreshing about just quite simply playing it as it is. And I was really blessed to work with Rachel and with Holliday and Iain Glen, but also like with Roger, who kind of obviously carved and puppeteered us into the right direction.
The costumes and the makeup are so minimal in the film. How did that help inform your character?
I always saw Louise as a bit of a tomboy. The idea that Philip and Louise have been friends since they were younger and kind of grew up together, and he's never really been around women, and so therefore doesn't really see Louise as a woman. And I think that kind of feeds into her as the kind of young adult that you see in the film. And so therefore the costumes, although it's period, were a lot easier to move in. Because Diana and I and Roger were talking about, the costume designer, were talking about needing to make sure that Louise could physically do everything that she physically does in her costumes, like running through barns and getting on horses and paddling in the ocean, and so it kind of made it it wasn't like the standard period costume for me.
No, thank goodness Philip's got your character in his life, because you really are a stalwart.
Yeah, I guess I am, I mean, he's just getting twisted every which way by this exotic beauty that comes into our midst, and I just try and keep him beside his sanity, yeah. It's well placed because Philip, the character that Sam Claflin plays so well in it, has no knowledge of the female world at all, the environment that he's come from. And so everything is very disruptive to him, and he falls passionately in love very, very quickly. So I suppose I'm a calming influence. I try and rein him back a little bit. It was lovely working with both Rachel and Sam. And the film belongs to them. It's their film, and I think they're brilliant in it. Yeah.
When I saw your character, I see him with this great sense of propriety as well. Was that always in the script, or was that something that you wanted to do?
No, I think it was always in the script. It's one of these things, the script is so good and looks after the period, looks after the characters that you just try and serve it up moment by moment. And what happens each stage of the way when we all feel very suspicious and antagonistic towards Rachel's character, and then we all get very seduced by her, and then it all gets more complicated. You just have to play it moment by moment, and it sort of looks after itself. But you bring what you bring as an actor to whatever role you're playing.
And we're talking about it is a period piece, but I think the themes are very kind of modern. You do get carried away by the love and obsession and desire.
Yeah, in a way it kind of perverts your expectations of period films. There's a very, very strong female central role, so it's not a male dominant society that's portrayed. I mean, it's one which is very thrown upside down by this woman that comes into the midst, and it's a wonderful role, and Rachel meets it beautifully. So in some ways, it has the qualities that people like in period films, in the setting, the costumes look. It's beautifully shot by Mike Eady. but actually the psychology of it is very up to date, and it's all about, human relations and passions and stuff. So, I hope it's got a bit of everything in it.
Excited for tonight?
Very excited for tonight. Yes, it's a good turnout. I'm glad to see London is, back on track and open for business, which is all very, very exciting.
And being back in business, you've adapted the screenplay as well as directed. When you were adapting the book, do you think in pictures? Do you think how you want to direct it, or do you?
It's funny. When you're writing the script, you have a very, very precise sort of visual account of the film running in your head, and you know what everything should look like, you know what all the locations should look like, you know what all the performances and all the actors should look like. And then when you come to make the film, everything is different. Everything is totally different. So that's a process that I found hard to get my head around to begin with, because filmmaking is always a series of weird creative compromises. You never find the location that's in your head. You find the location that's good but different, and good in a different way than what you'd expected. So you slowly reassemble your expectations and make something, a third thing, which is halfway between what you'd imagined and what the film eventually becomes.
Comes to pass.
Yeah.
And I saw the film in 3 very sort of definite acts.
I thought you were going to say 3D.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not the same film. And it was really Philip's motivation. In the beginning, he wants justice. Then it's desire that drives him, and then self-preservation. Is that how you saw the when you?
Sort of. Yeah, sort of. I mean, I think that at the beginning you trust that Philip is your reliable narrator. You feel that he's your way into the film, and you kind of believe what he says and thinks. And then the minute she arrives, you start to question whether he is reliable or not. And then he gets ill. And he gets ill in several ways. He gets ill because he is ill. He might have a tumour or something, we don't know. But he gets ill because he's a junkie. He's addicted to Rachel, and he's no longer responsible for his behaviour. And he becomes unreliable. And we don't quite trust what he thinks, and that makes the whole brew even more weird and wonderful, because we don't know whether we should choose between him or her.
And I think that's what's so beautiful as well, that's come out, the nuances of the actors and what they're able to bring, and they really keep the audience on their toes.
Yeah, they do. They keep us guessing right to the end and beyond, actually. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And you touched upon the locations. One of the beautiful things that you capture in all your films is you transport the audience so that they could actually be there, and I just wondered how you create that, and is that through the relationship with your director of photography?
Absolutely, totally. Mike Ealy is a wonderful guy. We worked on 3 or 4 things together now, and he's a hugely important collaborator for me. I think all filmmaking aspires to eavesdropping, and I think that you want the audience to believe that only they are in the room as individuals with these people having these weird emotional experiences with each other. That's what I aspire to making.